Hey guys, my name is Koushik and welcome back to LetCode. In this video, we are going to learn how to create a Chrome extension and also we'll learn how to publish the extension in the Chrome Web Store. I have created a tiny project that's going to be very useful. So if I click on this icon, you can see this our extension, which is going to take any of the URL and it's going to give us short URL. For example, if you notice in my video description, I have all this playlist link, right? So that links are mostly like 60 to 80 characters. So we don't want the URL to be that big. If we wanted to send to someone or just using the URL, we can track like how many clicks are happening on that link. So the idea here is we can short the URL. So I can just copy the URL. So copy link address and go to your extension and paste the URL and then click on generate short URL. Now this is going to give us this short URL here, right? So I can just copy this and if you see, if I click on that link, it's going to take me to that same page here, right? I mean the correspondent page, redirect page. So very simple idea, very simple extension, but of course I think it's going to be very useful. So in this video, we are going to learn about how to create this kind of extension using some of the API calls, some of the JavaScript and some of the CSS, of course. And then also today we'll see like how we can make our extension for both positive as well as negative scenarios. For example, if user doesn't give any of the URL and try to click on this generate short URL, that should give us like a warning message kind of. And we also give an API, so how to interact with API using the Chrome extension. So if I go to this option page, here we can see that we have this option page. Basically, you can enter your own API. Based on that API, you can track like how many clicks are happening on that link and each and everything. So let's get started now. So I'm just going to create a new folder here. Let's name this as like let-short URL. And of course, we will open the folder in VS Code. So right click and click on this open with code. So very basic stuff. Already we have discussed about how Chrome extensions works and what are the mandatory. So of course, we are going to create a manifest file here. So manifest.json file. And within the JSON file, we have to specify like name, version, description, and the manifest version. So I'm just going to copy the code from this developer.chrome.com/extension/overview. Just copy this boilerplate code here and paste over here. And of course, we don't want this guy. So let us remove this. We don't need any background. We need this permissions not now. And also we need a browser actions that is going to be our pop-up page and icon is not needed here. Let's create a file with this name. So popup.js, I mean popup.html. So popup. And apart from this, also we need a JS file to handle all the JavaScript stuff. So popup.js. And also we need a setting page that's going to be your option page. And then it's going to be your option.js page. Okay. So far we have created this manifest file and I'm just going to increase the font here. Okay, so far we have created a manifest file and I'm just going to remove this metadata and of course we want icon, so I'm just going to copy my icon. So here I have this icon called logo.png. So let's add this. So here I'm going to specify within of course 128 size and that's going to be our logo.png. That's it. So basic stuff done. Now also we have to specify that we are interested to create a options page. So we have to specify here as well. So if I go back to this developer guide, so here we have this options page. And let's copy this. So here we have something like options.option.html. So I'm just going to bring it here and let's change the file name to option. Okay, so we are pretty much done with the basic stuff. Let's copy this folder path and go to your Chrome browser and make sure you have enabled this developer mode and then click on this load unpack and paste the path and select the folder. Now that should give you some error like this. Okay, so let's go back to this. And here, of course, we have to specify what is the manifest version. So that is mandatory. So I'm just going to copy this, and here we'll specify like manifest version is going to be 2. So it should be within double quotes. Now let's go and retry. And okay, so cannot load option dot page. So what is the file name? Here we have options.html, and here also I have to specify the same name. So that is the error. Let's retry, and of course it's going to work. So this is my name, and this is my description, this is my version, and this is the unique ID that is generated by this browser or the Chrome extension. Okay, so if I click on this, probably you have to pin this. And if I click on this, of course, it's going to open in this blank HTML page. And if I do right click and if I click on this options, it is going to bring up the options.html. Here you can see, but I don't want this to be in the new tab. Rather, I just wanted this to embed in the settings tab or maybe within this page itself. So for that, we have another option. So I'm just going to copy this one. So options UI, and within that, we have to specify. So let's go back and replace this guy here. That's it. So here we have this option underscore UI where we are specifying this page. This is option.html and this open tab equal to false, right? Now let's go back and refresh this icon. Let me right click and click on this option. And here you can see that we are able to get this, right? So basically the logo and the title, and then followed by this area is basically our option space, that HTML page. In my previous video, I have used this Bulma CSS. Today, for this project, I'm going to use a lightweight CSS that is known as Spectre. Now let's go back to this docs, and it's actually lightweight, so it's around 10 KB. So that's the reason we are using this now. Let's go to the docs and we'll see the installation. We can do it in two ways. We can either download the entire source code and we can have it locally, or else we can use the CDN link. So for this demo, I'm just going to use local file. So let's go and download this, download the source code, and that's going to be a zip file. So let me save in my desktop, and let's go to the desktop, and we are going to extract this guy here. Okay, so here is the folder, and within this folder you can see we have like so many things. Just go to the dist folder, and within the dist folder we have two versions. One is the Spectre CSS and another one is the minimum version. So we are good with the minimum, so I'm just going to copy this guy, and let's go back to our project. So just drag and drop or copy paste, whatever you feel. That's it. So let's close this and we are done. Now let's go back to our popup.html, and here just give exclamatory and enter. That should give you this boilerplate code here. Now within this, I will first include our JavaScript file. So script src, and we will specify this popup.js. And after that, of course, we have to add this link here. So link and CSS, and that's going to be our spectre.min.css, right? Now document title, we'll just name this as LetCode, and within this what we are going to do is basically we are going to create a card first here. So let's go back to the documentation, and if you go to this element, not element, so within the layout, not layout, within the component, we can go with this card. Basically it's a card with the shadow in the background, so that looks really good for the extensions at least. So that's the reason I'm going to use this. So I'm just going to copy this entire code here and we'll paste it here. And we don't want this one card image, so we can remove this block, and then we'll have a header. So header is going to be URL shortener or shortener URL, whatever you like to call it, and then we can say like enter URL. Okay, and within the body we are just going to have a input field. So if I go back to this and if I go to this element, and within the forms I can find a input field. So I'm just going to copy this guy and paste over here, and of course we don't need any label here, so I'm just going to remove this, and I don't need placeholder as well, so I'm just going to remove this, and ID will change this. So here it will say like my URL, and that's it. So let's go back and open it here in this browser. So if I open this, now here you can see that we are getting this title and some short description and a text box and also a button, right? So let's give some text to the button. So here we'll say like generate URL. Okay, that's good. Let's go back and open this up again. So generate short URL and we are able to see this. But the problem is this guy looking very small, so we want it to be little big. So in the body tag we can add like width. So the width is going to be like maybe max content. That should work, or else we can give some explicit width like maybe 320 pixels, something like that. Yeah, that should work. So we are going to give this 320 pixels. So I'm just going to copy this and let's go back to our HTML page. And within this, I can create a style here. So within the head, we'll create a style and we'll target the body. And here we'll say like width is going to be 320 pixels, right? That's it. So let's close it up and open. And okay, so we are done with the UI. But of course, we wanted to give like positive as well as negative scenario. So if I don't enter any value and if I click on this button, it should give me like please enter a valid URL, right? So we want something like notifications or maybe the toast message. So if I go back to the document and if I go back to this components, here we have a section called toast. And toast is different. So one is success, warning, and error. So we are interested on the success and as well as this error guy, right? So I'm just going to copy this one from here. Copy this and go back to your HTML page and we can set it anywhere. So I'm just going to set it maybe before this. So within the card header, I can have it like this. That's it. And here we'll say like please enter valid URL. Okay. And we don't want this close button, so we'll just remove this guy here. So that close button is basically this close icon, right? So we don't want that. So it's like going to appear and after a few seconds, it's going to disappear. Now let's go back to our UI and check. Okay, so we are able to get it, but of course the color is wrong here. So we have to give the warning color. So, or maybe this error color here, right? So we can copy this. So toast hyphen error is the class name for that. Let's go back and instead of primary, we'll set this as toast hyphen error. Now let's go back and try to open this. Okay, so we got this. So, but of course we don't want this to be shown each and every time, right? If the user is going to click and if the data is not there, then only I have to show. So basically what we have to do is basically we have to first hide it, right? So I'm just going to bring this side by side. Okay, so first of course we wanted to hide this guy. So let's bring this. Okay. So once we click on this, of course we don't want to show it. We wanted to hide it first, then we will show it once the user clicks on this data, I mean this button, if there is no data available, right? So by default we can hide it. So for that we have a class here. So if I go back to this utilities, within the utilities, if you go to this display, you can see that we have options called dblock, the inline, dblock, and so many things. We are interested on this hide part, so I'm just going to copy this class. And by default, this toast is going to be in the hide state. So d-hide. Now if I try to open this page here, you can see that we are, yeah, so this one, you can see that we are not able to get this one, right? But if I remove this, and then if I open this, of course we can see that. So basically we are going to toggle this hide and based on the input from the user. Okay, so let's have a positive block as well. So within this button, right? So within the card footer, we have this button. So below the button, we wanted to give a toast message. That's going to bring like if the short URL basically, right? So I'm just going to copy this and paste it here. And here it should be like toast hyphen success. And it's also going to be hide by default. Once the URL is going to be there, short URL is going to be there, we will just change the value. We'll see that in the coding part. Now here we can say like nothing. So we don't want it to say anything here. So it's going to be the purely the short URL, right? Okay. So as of now, we are done with our pop-up page HTML and the designing part as well. Now let's quickly design the options page as well. So if I go to this option.html, and of course we need a boilerplate code here, and then we'll add our Spectre CSS. So link CSS, and here is going to be spectre.min.css, and also we want the script of options page, so options.js, and title is going to be again LetCode, That's it. Now within this body, it's going to be very simple. We just want only a text and a text box basically, right? So we can borrow the code from popup.html. So I can just copy this guy here, or maybe we'll copy the entire thing. So we'll copy this card here, and let's go back to this option.html, and we'll paste it here first, and then we'll remove what are the things we don't want. So of course we want this button. So let's say like save, and okay, we want the success message as well. So as soon as the user clicks on that, of course we have to say like data is stored or something like that. And we don't need this header as of now, so let's remove this. And here we'll say like enter API. So this is going to be our API key here. So enter API key, and please enter valid API. Okay, I hope you are able to understand like what I'm trying to do here. Basically, we are trying to create an options page where user is going to enter their API key, and based on the key, we are going to generate some of the URL. Now we'll just change this ID as well. So here I will say like my API, and that's it. So we'll give ID to this button as well. So ID, and we'll say like save. And let's go back to our popup.html, and here also we can specify some of the ID for this button. So ID equal to short underscore, we'll just name this as short URL. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so as of now we are pop up and this option page is ready. So let's go back to this and click on this options, and here you can see that we enter API key, and here we have a text box, and here we have this save. Now what are the API we are going to enter? We don't want it to show in the text box, so I'm just going to make this guy as a the type as a text. That means if I click on this option and if I type something, of course it's visible now, right? But API keys are like case sensitive, so we can just change the type to password, and that's going to hide this text whatever we are going to enter. So here I can say like type equal to password. That's it. Now let's go back and click on this options. Now if I type something, of course it's going to hide. That's it. Very simple, right? Okay, so as soon as I click on this save button, of course it should take the value and it should store somewhere, right? To do all this storing, whatever the data we have to store in the Chrome browser, we have something called Chrome Storage API. So basically we are going to explore the storage API now. Before that, we will finish this pop-up positive as well as negative flow. For example, if I click this now, of course it's not going to happen anything, right? So let's go back to our popup.html, and here we have this ID that's going to give the what are the text we are going to enter, that's going to capture by this ID. And whenever we are going to do the click action here, that is going to be captured by this ID here. So if I go back to my popup.js, let me close all other files. Okay, so first we'll just query. So let save button, this is going to be generate button actually. So generate btn equal to document, not this one. So document dot query selector, and here of course we have to pass the ID, and the ID is actually let's inspect this, and short URL. So I'm just going to copy paste here. So ID in the sense, of course we have to do this hash symbol and then followed by the ID value, and then of course we want the text as well, right? So URL equal to document dot query selector, and within this we can pass this guy. So basically right click and inspect, and here you have an ID called my URL, and of course the hash symbol, right? So we have found this one button btn, that button element as well as the URL element. Now based on this we can write a event listener. So whenever the button is going to be clicked, so generate button dot add event listener, and we are interested on the click event here. And once the click is going to happen, we are going to do something here, right? So first we'll check if the text has a proper text. That is very simple thing. I'm just going to get the text and I'll check if there is any text length, or else it's going to be like your undefined if there is no text. So we can simply check, right? For example, I can say like if URL. So I assume that if there is an URL, I'm going to do something. If there is no URL, and then probably I can say like error message, right? So basically we have to target the if I go to this popup.html, you can see that we have this toast message, right? So we are going to target this guy here. So toast error. So I can copy this class, and here I can say like let toast So if there is a valid URL, we are going to generate. If there is no valid URL, we have to trigger this class, right? So it's going to be very easy. We can say like toast error dot class list, and we are going to remove the class list of this error first. So class list dot remove, and here we have this d hyphen hide, right? So we are going to copy this, and here we'll paste it. So that means if the class is going to be removed from there, of course it's going to be visible here, right? So let's try to do that. So I'm just going to close it up and open again. So if I try to click on this button now, of course we are not going to get anything. The reason is it's going to give us null error. So if I go back and inspect this page, and if I go to the console, you can see that it says that cannot read property add event listener of a null, and it's coming in the line number 6. So in the line number 6, we have this generate button. So what is happening here is basically if I go back to my popup.html, we are trying to load this popup.js, right? So it's going to load even before this page is going to get ready and this elements are going to get ready. So of course we have to say like once the body, the entire page or the entire HTML is loaded, after that we want to trigger our JavaScript file. So for that we can use this keyword called default. Now let's go back to this popup.js, and we don't need to change anything here. So we can simply close it and open and click on this generate short URL, and still if I click on this, of course it's not going to work. The reason here is we have taken this URL, right? So that is the element. Of course the element is present, but we have to check if the element has value or not. Before that, let me show you the console, and here you can see that we do not have any error. So we fix the problem using the defer keyword. But here the problem is because of that value. So here I can say like URL.value. So if I have a value, then it's okay. Or else it's going to trigger this trigger this toast message, right? So let me try to click on this button again, and here you can see that please enter valid URL. So of course we are able to cover up the negative flow, right? So if there's any data, we just wanted to print that data to our success message, right? So here I can say like, and let's assume that user is going to enter something and he's going to click on this generate short URL, but this error message is going to be always there, right? But we don't want it to do like that. So if there is any error message, we will trigger this. So we'll remove the class called d-hide. That means it's going to show this one. But after a time, so I'm just going to use the set timeout. I also wanted to hide this one basically, right? So within the set timeout function, I can hide this value again. So here we will say like toast. I can just copy this line and paste over here. And then instead of remove, I can give this as add. And of course, within the set timeout, we have to specify the time. So I'm just going to make like 150, that is 1.5 seconds basically, right? So if I go back and without entering any value, if I try to click on this and generate short URL, after 1.5 seconds, it's going to disappear, right? If you wanted to show the message for a long time, of course, you can increase the time here. Very simple. Now, similarly, if I give values and then if I click on this generate short URL, I wanted to show that in the UI, in the success toast message, right? So here, same concept. So I'm just going to query this guy again. I'm going to write a script here. So toast success dot class list dot add, and here we'll say like not add this time. Of course, we have to remove this. So we'll just remove this guy and this one basically, right? So d-hide. And we no need to give timeout here because as soon as the user generate and he have to click manually to copy the URL, and then he's going to close the extension probably. So we don't want it to do the set timeout and make it disable again, right? Okay, cool. Now let's go back and first we'll test the negative. So without entering anything, I can click on this and that's going to give us this toast message. And if I enter something and if I click on this, of course it's going to give us this toast message. But of course we didn't append any of the value. So that's the reason it's giving us like the small guy. So we can write something there. So whatever the value we are going to enter, so we'll say like toast success dot text content, and what are the value we are going to get, that is url dot value. That's it. So let's go back and enter something and click on this. Of course you can see that we are able to get it whatever we have typed. But of course, we are not going to type the value, whatever we are going to type. I mean, I'm not going to show the value, whatever we are going to type. Rather, it is going to be dynamic. It is going to be the from the API. Okay, we'll see that in a moment. Now, same thing we are going to perform for the option page as well. So if I go back to the option page and we are going to write some of the JavaScript code here. So let me copy this guys again. So let me just tell you again. So this is my save button ID and this is my this text box and this is the error message and this is my success message. So same thing, whatever we have done here. So same concept. So I'm just going to copy this guy and paste over here. Let's check quickly. So of course, generate button. So that is the save button. So we'll rename this just for our understanding. We can say like save btn and this is going to be our API. So F2 and just type and enter. That's it. And here we are not getting anything because we have to change this from API. Okay, so when we click on this generate button, so that should be actually save button. So why it's not saving everywhere, I'm not sure, but we can use the F2 to rename each and everything. But okay, now okay, so save button, add event listener. We are looking for the click event. When there is a click event, it is going to take the value from this particular text box, that is my API, and if there is a value, it is going to hide the success message. Basically, I mean, that's going to show the success message by removing the d-hide class name. And what are the value we are going to get? We are going to append that. We don't want to append here, so we don't will not show them. So basically just the value, right? And then if there's nothing, so it is going to give us this error message and it will remove, right? So let's do the testing here. So right click and click on this options and click on the save. Okay, we are not getting anything because the same problem in the in the option.html also we didn't use the defer keyword. So I'm just going to use the defer here. And now let's go back to our extension. Let's close it, right click and click on this option and click on enter. So here you can see please enter valid API. Now let's assume that this is going to be my API, some text, and if I save it, and here you can see that we are able to this make visible of this success, closed success, but we'll say something here. So I can just target that or else I can embed that in my code here itself, right? So here I can say like saved successfully, something like that, any positive message. That's it, save. That's fine, I think. Okay, let's quickly test this again. So negative flow without entering any value, of course that toast message with red color or orange color, and we'll enter something and we'll save, and here we can say like save. That's it, pretty good, right? That's it, we are done with the UI part. So we have created our popup.html and also we have created our option.html. Now the remaining part is of course the important part, how we are going to get the API and how we are going to use the Chrome storage API now. So far whatever we have learned is purely the CSS and the HTML side. Now we are going to make use of the Chrome extension APIs. So before that, we will understand this API. So t.ly/home. If you go to this, of course, you have to click on the sign up and you just give your name, email, password, and create a register. You will get an email, just confirm, and after that, you can do the login. So enter your email and password and click on this login. Once we logged in, we have to click on this generate API token, and it is going to ask you a token name. So I'm going to say like LetCode extension, something like that. Just give any name and click on this create. Now we have to copy this API. So just copy to clipboard or something and close it. Then go back to our Chrome extension and let's go back to our let me store this somewhere. So I'm just going to store this in this option.js as of now. So we want to pass this in our options.html. And what are the value we are going to give in our option.html? Of course, that should be stored somewhere, right? So for that, I'm going to use the Chrome storage API. So if I go back to this Chrome storage, Chrome extension document, and if you go to this developer guide, here we can navigate to the storage. And first of all, we have to get the permissions, and that's going to be storage, right? So let's copy this guy from here and go back to your manifest.json. Control P and then you can type manifest.json and here comma and at the last you can specify. So we are going to use only the storage API, nothing else other than that. Now, to store a value, we have to use this, and to retrieve a value, we have to use this. So I'm just going to copy and then I will explain you. So let's go back to this option.js. What are the value we are going to get? If there is any value, we wanted to store that, right? So here I can say like after this line, maybe, so I'll just add a comment like storing the data, and we can paste this thing. So what is happening over here is we are calling this chrome.storage.sync. So sync is basically it is going to sync up with your email. So if you logged in your browser like this, what if you are going to switch to another browser with the same email ID, the entire whatever the data we have stored in our extension, that will be reflected over there as well. But I think for this simple example, we can go with the local. So local means it's like your local storage. It won't go out of your browser. Okay, even if you restart your browser or if you restart your window, any of your machine, that storage is going to be in your local storage, the browser memory, not in your cloud or something like that. Okay, within this we don't need this console log. Maybe we can have it, we'll remove this later on, and we'll just change this now to API. So this is like your key and this is like your value. So this value is actually going to be this value. So I'm just going to copy this and paste over here. So it's placed and paste, right? So what are the value we are going to get? We are going to store that using this chrome.storage.local, and we are going to give a name to it as a API. So we are done with the option.js. So options is over. This part is over. Now, what are the value we have set? We have to use this in our popup.html. We'll see that in a moment. So before that, let me close all this file and let me open this popup.js. So let us understand how this is going to work. So here, if you go to this particular URL, you can just go to your API docs. And here you can see that we have this API, right? Basically this guy. So this is the actual thing that we are going to make use of it. So I'm just going to copy this and let's go back to our code. And if there is any success, we are going to perform this task. So I'm just going to paste after this line. Okay. Now let me explain what we are trying to do is. So here we have this URL. So this is the API URL endpoint. So let's move this outside. And after that, we want the header. So header is basically what is the content type and what it's going to accept. So basically application/JSON. It can be differ based on the API. In this API, we have this JSON. So we are good with this header. So I can remove this guy, or yeah, we can remove this outside as well. So let me remove this here. And this body, okay, let it be here as of now. And this is the actual task. So here we are passing this fetch, we are passing this URL. URL is nothing but this guy, right? The endpoint. And within this, we have to pass the arguments like method. So method, of course, we are doing the post action. So if you are familiar with Postman, this is going to be exactly same, right? So in the Postman, we have to say like what is the call we are going to make, like get, post, put, patch, or something like that. And of course, we have to pass the header and then followed by the body. So in the body, I'm just going to write here itself. So let's copy this guy. And here we have to pass this within the JSON, but that is somehow not mentioned in the document. And I figure it out that within the body, we have to use this JSON.stringify, and then we have to pass this value. Okay, so please remember that. Now here you can see that this is our API token. So API token, of course, I cannot do the hard code. I have to get the API token from the user and then I have to pass it here, right? So we'll do that. Let me delete this. We don't want this guy to be here. Okay. Now here we have this long URL, and that's going to be the URL that user is going to give. So of course I cannot use this. So let me remove this guy here. And domain is basically this one, t.ly. So that is the domain we are using, t.ly. So of course that can be here. So I'm just going to remove this slashes here. Okay, and comma, and here also comma, and here we are going to pass the value. So how we are going to pass the value is basically this value, right? So API.value. So I can copy this guy and paste over here. So long URL. So value in the sense this is basically your long URL. Whatever the URL, that means let me go back. So here whatever we are going to type, that is going to be take as a long URL here. So here we are going to give this value. Then domain is needed, so we'll just leave as it is. And after that, we want this API token. So here comes the main picture, how we are going to retrieve the API token from the background page, I mean the options page, right? So if you remember, if I go back to this, let me show you that. So options.js, here we have stored the set using the local storage of this keyword, I mean this key called API, right? So using this key, I can read it there as well. So if I go back to the Chrome extension document, and here you can see that to read this, we have to use this guy, right? So let me copy paste, and we'll paste it here first. So it's like your callback. So once we get the key, after that we are going to perform this guide, right? So here I can say like not this one, so we'll just remove this. So whatever the key, so key is basically the API, whatever the value we have set. It's very simple API. So chrome dot storage dot sync, not sync, we are using the local here, dot get, and here we have to pass the value. Now it's, you can see that it is actually within the array. That means of course we can retrieve multiple keys at the same time. Now whatever this guy is going to get, it will be stored in this particular result object. Now we can say like before that, let me just move this guys within this bracket. Okay, very cool. And here we are going to send the this key, right? So here I can say like result dot API. API is my actual key, right? That's it. So whatever the value we are going to get, we are going to pass it here as well, right? That's it. Very fine. Now if there is a response, so when we call this fetch options, it is going to give us the callback, not the callback. It is going to resolve the promises. So we are using this then, and it is going to give us response. So whatever the response we are going to get, we are going to transfer that in the format of JSON. Now this arrow syntax means we no need to write return keyword. If there is a single line, only one line, and we can use this fat arrow just to return the data. Whatever the data it's going to return in the format of JSON, from there we are getting this JSON object, and I mean we are storing that JSON in that JSON object, and from there we are trying to do the console log. But of course we don't want to log as of now. So what we can do is we can just print the data, right? So here we can say like this thing. So I'm just going to cut it here and I'm going to paste within this. Okay. So here we are using this curly braces because of course we have more than one line, and of course we are not going to return anything. If you are going to return something within the same line, you can just use this arrow without any curly braces, right? Okay, fine. So we are almost done now. Now of course we don't want this API value to be shown, rather than whatever the value we are going to get from this JSON, we have to show it, right? So if we go back to the documentation from the t.ly, and here you can see that the response is going to be 200, and this is the variable, I mean the value in which the short URL is going to appear, right? So I'm just going to copy this guy and paste over here, and of course using this object, so json.short URL. Okay, so that's it. We are pretty much done, I think, but let's try to test it out. So let's copy this this API key, whatever we have generated. So let's copy this guy, or I'm just going to cut it from here. And let's go back to our extension and go to our option dot page. Before that, we'll just update this again. So let's go back and refresh, and let's do the right click and click on this option, and we have to enter the URL, I mean the API, and click on the save. Of course it's going to save, right? So the API is saved now. Now let's go back to this option, and here we have to specify any of the URL. So let's copy this URL here, maybe not this one, so we can copy this URL maybe. Let's copy this and go back to our extension and paste it and click on this generate short URL, right? And of course you can see that it is going to give us this output, that is the short URL, right? So I can copy this, and let's go back to our incognito mode and paste the URL and hit enter. That should now bring the page that we copied, right? So here you can see that Spectre docs and this loading URL basically. So that is what we have here as well, right? That's it. Very cool. So we are able to do. Now just in case if you have doubt, we can go to our API. So, and let's go back to this home page, and here you can see that this is the actual data we got, right? So here so what is that copied paste? Okay, let me just paste here. Yeah, so SADR, that is what we copied. It's I pasted from my clipboard, and here you can see that the same link. Now if I try to open this, maybe it will also give you like how many visits are there and everything, right? So I can just copy. Let me try to open this here. and it's opening the page. If I go back and if I refresh, okay, so here you can see that it is giving us one visit, right? So we can do that. We can check like how many visits are there, everything within our extension itself. So we have this API. So if you go back to this links, and here we have the stats, right? So you can get like how many visits are there and how many clicks are, what are the browser name, and based on that you can get all the data, right? So I'm not going to do that. Maybe we'll do that in a later on videos, but I think it's very easy. I have teach you how to read the documentation and each and everything, so I think you can do of your own, right? So let's go back and check our extension once again. So okay, so if I open this is our extension. We can enter any of the URL and you can click on the generate short URL. But when I do the generate, when I click on this generate, it is not actually showing like what is happening. We wanted to give like some loader is loading, and once the URL is generated, we want to disable the loader icon. So for that, of course, we are going to use the CSS called loading. I mean, the same Spectre CSS, we have a class called loading, right? So I'm just going to copy this and let's go back to our popup.html. So popup.html, and we can enter, we can have that maybe before this, right? So here we are going to save this. Let me go back and open this guy again. So here we can see that we are able to get this loading symbol. I wanted this to be between this guy, so we can just move it around. Okay, anyways, it's coming here because that guy is basically hidden, I think, or else we can just make it above. Okay, so let's go and open, and here you can see that we are able to get this loader, but I don't want it to show the loader each and every time. Once the button is going to be clicked, we want to show the loader, and once the URL is generated, we want to hide this loader. So let's go back and same trick. So we are just going to add a class called d-hide, and we'll query this. So let's query this. Let's go back to our popup.js, and first we'll query it. So let loader, and then if there is a value first, we'll just show this, right? So here I can say like loader dot class list dot remove, and here I'm going to remove the d-hide, right? So we are going to remove that class. Now if there is any success, so within this guy, right? So if there is any success, we can just add the class again. So I'm just going to copy paste, and instead of remove, I'm going to make this as add. That's it. Very pretty neat and clean. And of course, if there is any error, let's assume that this is not working, maybe because of connectivity issues, or maybe because we are not able to connect to the endpoint, something like that. Of course, we have to solve that. So for that, I can just use this dot catch here, and we'll just log it. Maybe we can again show like we can have this toast error, and we can append the text. But as of now, I'm just going to alert. So that's pretty much good, I think. So what are the error we are going to get? We are just going to alert that, right? That's it. We are pretty much done with our extension. So let's try this one last time. So I'm just going to copy maybe this GitHub URL. So I'm going to copy this, and let's go back to our browser and click on this and click on this. I mean, give the data and click on this generate short URL. So its loader is coming. Once the data is come, the loader also disappears, right? So I can just copy this guy, and I can open this here. And if I open this link, you can see that we are able to get the GitHub link. Now if I go back and check in my this guy, so t.ly, and here you can see that we have two visit for the previous one and one visit for the this one, right? That's it. We are pretty much done with the extensions. I think this really quick tiny project, of course, and but it's going to be helpful you in any way, I believe. If so, do let me know in the comments. So now what we have to do is basically we have to pack the extension, and we have to upload it into the Chrome store, right? So it's going to be very easy. So I'm just going to open my Chrome Chrome Developers Console first, and go to this first link. And from here, you can see that we have something called settings, and from there you can go to your developer dashboard. So if you are first time, you have to do the registration, and you have to pay around $5. That is approximately 350 to 400 INR. You have to do that. If you don't pay, you cannot publish any of the extension in the Chrome store. It is free for Microsoft Edge, Firefox, and Opera, but Chrome you have to pay. And here you can see that I already have this guy called LetXpath. Now we are going to publish a new extension. Okay, so let's go back to the source code and we'll just open this in a reveal in Explorer and select everything and just zip it. So you have to zip this entire folder. Make sure you are going to pass error free code or else your extension will be rejected in the first time. Okay, now let's go back to this one. So new item, and you can just drag the zip file. The size is very less, I think less than 20 KB, so that should work fine. Okay, now here we have to give some a description. So basically I will just add some random text. Maybe I will correct it later on, sir. This is just for tutorial. I'm not going to give this tiny extension to anyone. Maybe I will just leave as it is. Okay. Okay, and what is the category? It's going to be like, I don't know what is the category, so we'll just make it as productivity maybe. And language, of course, English. Okay, so we have 3 English. I will go with the first one. And here we have to pass this storage icon and store icon. That's going to be 128.128. Okay, so we have the logo and the screenshot. So let's go back and here I'm going to upload that. So let's go to the desktop and this folder. Where is this extension logo? And this is the logo. Of course, just for demo purpose, I have created. It can be far better, but if you get the idea, that's pretty much good, I think. Okay, so that's it. So yes, we are done. Now let's go back and we have any official URL. Of course, we can give our, if you have any official URL, you can specify, or else you can just leave it as none. And home page, we don't want support URL, no needed. Analytics, if you are interested to check how many installation are happening per day or something like that, you can use the Google Analytics. We don't want, so let's go back and let's save as draft and then go to privacy. And so here we are using this like single purpose. What we are going to do is basically create a tiny URL. That's it. So that's the single purpose of this URL. So create a tiny URL. That's it. Now we are using the storage permissions in our manifest, right? So whatever the manifest we are going to use, we have to specify like why we are using this. So are you using any remote code? Of course we are not using, so no. And here permissions is the one of elective instances. So we are using the storage permissions, and why we are using basically to store data. That's it. Nothing much here other than that. And that's it. Let's click the save draft and go to the price and distribution. So let's save it again and go to this price and distribution, and it should be public all the region. Of course we want it in all the region. Let's save this draft. And then we have to submit, but we are not able to submit because we might missing something. Let's go back to this package. Okay, we have this one, store listing, and is there anything I'm missing? Maybe I'm missing something. And okay, let's click on this why I can't publish, because the detailed description is too short or missing minimum 25 character. That's nice. So let's add some data. I don't know what to add, so let's add like create a tiny URL. Okay, that's fine, I think. So let's save this draft and okay, so we got the submit for review. So just click on this, guys, and it will say like some review process has to be performed. Okay, we'll just submit for review, and it should be immediate, I think. And they are saying 30 days, but it won't take that much time. Maybe for this extension, it will take around 2 to 3 hours. And after that is going to publish, I believe. So let's go back to this dashboard, and so here you can see that your Shortener is pending review now. So once this is going to be published, you will see something like this published like that. Okay, so we'll just see we'll just wait. So until I edit the video, if I got this like uploaded successful or something like that, probably I will just show you, or else I will leave a link in the description. You can check it out, and you can use the extension if you want, or else for your learning, of course, the entire source code will be in the description. You can grab it from my GitHub repository. So that's it from my side. I hope you have enjoyed the video. I think it's pretty long as per I have made any of the Chrome extension tutorial, but you will get like end-to-end scenario how to create an extension and how to upload a code to the web store. The same process is applicable for Microsoft Chrome image browser and Opera and Firefox. The API is very same for all the browsers except the Firefox. Firefox also very same, but we have to do some little modifications. Maybe we'll talk about that in later on videos. So that's it from my side. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one very soon. It really takes time to do the edit and make videos. So if you like to support the channel, kindly do the subscribe and hit the bell notification so that whenever I upload a video, you will get it. And also please share it with your friends, colleagues, so whoever you think they have to watch it. Okay. So that's it. Thanks again. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one very soon.